put that into the URL field here, like so. Specify the width, the height. Let me just show you an example of this. Let me just half everything. The width, the height, the frames per second, and then the CSS. I'm not going to show you the CSS quite yet, but I will go into that just after this section. So now we have, as you can see, a small chat box that looks exactly like the window we had open from YouTube. So, because we don't want it to look like that, and we actually want it to have other properties, such as not showing the background and just showing the text and who's written it, we will have to drop in some CSS. That stands for cascading style sheets, and it's what websites use to basically stylize all the elements within a page, and it does that put that into the URL field here, like so. Specify the width, the height. Let me just show you an example of this. Let me just half everything. The width, the height, the frames per second, and then the CSS. I'm not going to show you the CSS quite yet, but I will go into that just after this section. So now we have, as you can see, a small chat box that looks exactly like the window we had open from YouTube. So, because we don't want it to look like that, and we actually want it to have other properties, such as not showing the background and just showing the text and who's written it, we will have to drop in some CSS. That stands for cascading style sheets, and it's what websites use to basically stylize all the elements within a page, and it does that by targeting IDs and classes of certain pieces of text. So, because we're effectively pointing our chat box to the YouTube chat box web page, that little web page does have HTML, probably JavaScript, and some other server-side languages that we don't really need to know about, as well as it'll have some CSS. So, the browser that we have in our scenes, so the chat box that we named, can actually support separate CSS. Let me just try and get to it, there we go. Which is here. So we can override everything that we're grabbing from this page with our own custom CSS. So if I just go to my chat box properties here, I have a long list of CSS. Now we have the CSS within our clipboard. We want to pop it in here. Basically get rid of everything else, press Ctrl and V or right click and paste, and click OK, and you'll notice that the web page has actually gone from being a white, horrible, not very well looking element to now transparent background and just the text on that particular chat box. So that is it from me, guys. That is as simple as it is to get your YouTube chat into OBS Studio. There is no messing around. The browser plugin is the one. That is the one you want to be using. It's brilliant, simple, no messing around with plugins in the background like we did for the previous version of OBS. That's all you need to do. Any questions, drop me a comment. If you like the video, guys, then give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe because I make videos like this all the time. So yeah, I'll catch you later.
Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Frosthaven, and I am here to bring you a quick streaming tutorial. This is going to act as both an educational tutorial for people just getting into streaming and wanting things like YouTube chat alerts, donation alerts, subscription alerts when using OBS and YouTube together. The other part is, if you've used in the past my YouTube pop-out script, I have good news. You can go ahead and uninstall that. YouTube has changed quite a lot over the past year, and in many ways for the better. The API is not quite where I want it yet to be able to do something more interesting, but this will get you where you want to be. I know a lot of you have been asking me for updates for the pop-out script, And hopefully this will help you guys out as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Our goal is up here above me. I've created some space in my overlay to put chat. Now, I've included all the links that we're going to be talking about today in the description below. Hopefully help you guys out here. And so we're going to go ahead and pull up the first one, which is the YouTube chat OBS styles. And I'm going to bring that over because it takes you to this. This is a nice little picture-laden tutorial to get this put into your OBS. And so we're just going to follow along with the tutorial as it's listed here in the link. And the first thing it says, we're going to add a browser source. So we're going to do that. We're going to right-click, Add Browser Source. Name it whatever you like, all right? So we're going to call this YouTube Chat. Make source visible, yep, okay. All right, so at this point, we've got a nice little default setup. Now, when you add the browser source, I know on older OBS software, it might actually be called CLR browser, but that doesn't matter. The settings are still going to be the same. They just may be in a different position than what you see here. So next up, we're going to get the URL of the current stream chat you want by popping out the chat. Okay? So for that, I'm just going to take this off screen and go to my dashboard. Move this overlay out of the way for you guys. All right, so here we are on my dashboard, and the live chat. This works from any live chat widget right now on YouTube, whether it's gaming YouTube, regular YouTube, or even on your own dashboard like I am. You've got these three little dots in the top right. You go ahead and click on that and select Pop Out. All right, so let's get that out of the way and go back to our tutorial. All right, so the next thing we want to do is copy the URL from the pop-up. So I'm going to do that now. Copy. Now that we have this copied, we'll add it to the browser source window. Right there. The next up, you got the width and the height. This can be any dimensions you want. I wrote this style sheet to work at literally pixel perfect any dimensions. So if you have a specific overlay like I do, where I know exactly the width and height I want, go ahead and type that in. I know I want 320 width and 400 height. Again, this works with any width and height. Okay, so the next part of the puzzle is the actual CSS. In the tutorial, there's a link to it, and if you scroll up, you can also just click on Streamable Chat CSS. So we're going to just follow the tutorial, and we're going to open up the CSS file. And it's just a text file. I recommend saving it somewhere on your computer so that you can edit it if you're into that, or you can use it as it is. That's not a problem either. So I'm going to select it all. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go back to OBS, and where it says CSS, I'm going to replace everything in the CSS box. And I'm going to paste. And you'll notice it's the entire contents of the window we just opened. So I'll hit OK. And there we are. There's my pop-out chat. And I'll go ahead and put it up on my overlay about where I want it. And we'll go over customizing it too, now that we've got this thing up here. Just a quick test here. Did it work? There we go. I do have a little bit of an internet issue right now, so it did come up a little bit slow. But we can close out of the window. We don't actually need it unless we want it up for our own purposes. The YouTube chat through browser plugin method like this does not require you to manually scan any windows in. One less thing to worry about. So I said you could save it to your hard drive and edit it to your heart's content, right? So let's go ahead and copy this. We'll create a new file, and I'm just going to call it style.css. And I'm gonna open it with Visual Studio Code, which is a free program. I like Visual Studio Code because it syntax highlights. So you'll notice when I paste, everything's color coded, easier to read. You are more than welcome to use Notepad, whatever you want to do. And right at the top of the style, there is a link going back to the Bitbucket repository where you can make sure you have the latest version if things break down the line. So we got one main field here that's going to be the important one called user config. Now the user config, I put everything in here as easy to understand as I possibly could. So let's go through it. We can use Google Fonts, and to do that you use an import command. Use any import command for fonts at http://fontsgoogle.com. So let's go ahead and open up fonts.google.com. I love this website, by the way. As a front-end developer, absolutely love this website. And you can browse through, see a font that you want to use for your stream. And all you have to do, let's take one that you can easily see the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and try Lobster out. We'll click on Lobster. We'll select the font. And what we care about is the import command. And that's everything here under import between the style tags. So I'll copy that and go back to our CSS and replace the import. So now we're importing Lobster instead of Montserrat. All right, so down here is where we set the page font. See where it says font family? It can be any font installed on your computer or one that you imported from above. And if we look at the Google Fonts, you'll see right here, in order to make this font work, we want to use this font family setting. So we'll copy that over right there, just like that. So if I copy all the contents, go back to my YouTube chat properties, and overwrite the CSS with what we've now done, and hit OK, after it reloads, there we are. Now we have a fancy font. Wouldn't recommend this kind of font for streaming just because you want something that's really easy to read, but it just gives you an idea of the level of customization. All right, so going back to our style sheet, we scroll down, we'll see an area labeled colors. This takes hex, RGB, or RGBA, and I give you a link to a color picker website. There are many out there. Don't get me wrong. There's tons of color picker websites. I just linked one of them just to get you started. The reason I like this is because down here in the bottom right, it can calculate out an RGBA value for you. So let's say we want to mess with our colors. Owner name color. This is going to be what you normally see as yellow in the chat with a little crown, meaning you're the one streaming live and you are the owner. It's normally like a yellow color. Well, let's say, you know, I kind of want to make it match my background. So we'll go with kind of a bluish tinge, as it were. Maybe a little bit of red in there and a little bit of green. That was close enough. And for this, I'm just going to have full opacity. So RGBA value, that's what we care about. We're going to copy that. And over here, owner name color, we're going to change to the RGBA value. Just to show you what that looks like. Properties, CSS, replace it all. And now you'll notice that my name matches my theme, right? Now let's say we want to change the message text. It's currently listed as gray. I'm just going to use a hex tag that I know from doing this enough. It should turn it green. I don't actually like that with this theme, but it should give you a good impression of it and make it super, super space separated. Again, just replacing the CSS. There we go. So now we've got what I would deem kind of an ugly chat setup, but you can do whatever you want. Now, I do have another section called Advanced. I would actually suggest staying away from that unless you know what you're doing with style sheets. But if you do know what you're doing with style sheets, you can do some pretty crazy stuff, right? So the first thing I want to show you, let's say we still want to show user avatars. Well, I've got a section called Hide Chat Elements, Author Photo. Let's remove